Hi guys, and welcome to today's journal. I thought I would share a couple of art journals with you, and I'll share the material that I use to make them, and it's kind of really straightforward, and but I just thought I would do a flip through of the journals because I really enjoy working in them. And it's just brown paper. Now I use this if I'm taking my art pieces to an exhibition. I will rip off a piece of this brown paper and wrap the art piece, you know, obviously take it, and then I've got all of this left. I usually bring it back, and you know, obviously if the piece is sold, then they're not going to need it, but and if not, I've got the brown paper to bring it back home safely. But so when it doesn't come back, I'm left with this, and you know, obviously you wouldn't want to just get rid of it and throw it away. So what I would do is straighten it out and create the size of journal that I would more like. These particular ones, let me see what they are. They're 8.5. Oh, 8.5 by 10. Okay. I guess 8 by 10 is usually the size I like. This is 9 by 8.5. So I've just gone with whatever. But this would be nice. I'd like to have maybe a smaller sized one. Maybe this size. Maybe 6. Is it 6? Yeah, about 6. 6 by 9 maybe. And you know, obviously you can think about the kind of things that you're going to put in there, and I normally kind of use the paper projects that I have and work through the journal like that. Or if you've got, you know, if you're junk journaling, or again, it's mostly paper ephemera. I create paper products, resources every month, so I'm always experimenting and playing with them. So it's nice to be able to have just a small book to hand that I can use, and because I've made it, it makes it that much more special. Okay, so let's have a look at the journals. So we'll start with the oldest one, I guess, first. So that's fuller of the two. Maybe some pages that haven't been covered, and maybe at the end we can work on one of them. Okay, so let us go through. So this was, I had bought a load of, it's like children's jigsaw. I always go into these shops and think, oh, what could I do with that? And I bring it home and I kind of sit and look at it for a bit, and then, you know, I come up with something to do with it. So these are from a child's jigsaw, and I've used it as part of the cover, and just to give it that kind of, it's like a nice texture to it as well. And then I've taken, this is a plastic dowel, and I've covered it and embellished it, and I'd placed it on there, and it's forms part of a story as well. Resilience, maybe. Life can sometimes seem like a jigsaw puzzle. Sometimes you think the pieces fit and they don't. Sometimes they do. You know, sometimes everything fits together almost magically. But you're in the place you need to be, and you're, you know, working towards whatever it is. So let's have a look. So yeah, the journal, let's see, I literally just stitched down the middle. I think that's the middle, yeah. So I stitched down the middle with a vintage thread, and it's held it really well. And then I've used, I created a back, just a cardboard and stuck it down, and then added the jigsaw puzzles, and then covered them with a very fine tissue paper, and then painted it. Okay, so let's have a look. So yeah, just playing and experimenting. This is a figure I drew many years ago, then blew it up, and it was just sitting there. So it was just like, why don't you come and join us in this journal? You know, pages that are journaled on, and there's still space to come back when you've got time, or if you're thinking, you know, I just want to do something simple, something small, just really create maybe some marks in there. And that's what these pages are for as well. So the pages are built up through having excess paint on the brush, and then thinking, okay, let's put it somewhere. I used to watch other artists, and they like get the brush, they've got loads of paint, and then they just put it in the water and wash it off, and it was just like, that could have gone on a page. So that's what I do, and then I come back and I add ink to the page, because then I want to come back and do some doodling. But maybe at the time I add the ink, I'm not necessarily ready for that, or, you know, I'm just setting up the page so that I can have spaces that I can just think, oh, you know, like, well, I was going to say, you know, like when you just come in and you're so tired and you just need a cup of tea, and somebody makes you a cup of tea, and it's just so lovely. It's such a lovely cup of tea. And you sit there and you put your feet up, and or whatever your tipple of the day is. It doesn't have to be tea. Again, I'm using this for paper as well, so any excess paper, sometimes I will do that and just add it to the page. Like this was something I was working on, so I could just add them to the page. They're ones that had been printed, and so it's just like, you know, why waste them? I also have beside my desk like an ephemera waste paper catcher. So if I'm cutting a piece that I've printed off and there's colour to it, I'll leave it in here, and then that can go on a small project or on a mini journal. Look at my mini journal here. You can look at this one at the end. I'll show you this one. Yeah, I had it in this just to help close it a bit, so I'm going to leave it on there for the time being, and we'll look at that at the end. Okay, so again, just excess paint. These are papers that I'd created that I hadn't used, and thought, let me just use it as backing paper. This was from, I was one of the teachers on Get Messy 2025, and this was, I think, Messy May 2025, and this was my project. And what I would love to do with these, I think what I'll do with these is scan them in and use them as ephemera, and they can be cut out, and I've got ready-made ephemera there. That's a good idea, isn't it? Just using a hairpin as a place marker there. Okay. This was another project I was working on, and drew my hand, and I wanted to, I'm not sure if it's in here, it might be in here, the project. So I've done quite a few projects that I work on, either ones that where I'm teaching and would work in here. Again, more kind of excess paint, but as it builds up, doesn't it look, it can look quite nice, and you think, oh, I'd love to do something on that now. This was Second Saturday Art, February. I did this. Build, it says, and the figure, kept it very simple, just a few colours, and this is a graphite, water-soluble graphite. This was for a project with an artist called Concy Sindet. She's got an art community, and I was looking at texture and looking at the colour grey. So it was my least favourite colour, texture and fibers. That's what, well, texture and color. That's what I was looking at. So I was looking at all the things that we could potentially, you know, find that are grey. Like we've got grey velvet. Then we've got this, it's a lace fabric. It was grey and black stitching. And when you feel the textures, texture of wood, can you, if you closed your eyes and you rubbed your hand, could you identify what they were? And if you think about the importance of not only our art, but everything in society being accessible to those who may have different disabilities. So the non-sighted, you know, they use their fingers to sense what it's there to read. And what is that? When I'm doing this, can I remember what fabric it was? My fingertips are not yet attuned to the different textures. I haven't done it enough to be able to do that. And just think about the things that are missing, so that, you know, everything that you do is accessible to somebody who may not have sight, who may be deaf, who may, you know, have whatever other disability that could restrict them from partaking in the things that we take for granted, yeah? Again, more pages, that excess paint, some paper there. Same for that. So, you know, you find that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I had close to me. I don't use like under paper, as you can see, but I clean it. But these are the stains on my... I like having the self-healing mat, and I should have taken more care of it, but it's what it is now. It's still here, and it's still going, yeah? So then I looked at some faces. I love doodling. And so I looked at some faces from my past that I had, whether it's reading their books. We've got Zora Neale Hurston, and we've got Maya Angelou. And I wanted to do a similar sort of thing like this with their faces. So I'm keeping them in here. This is Gil Scott Heron. And again, this is a colour photograph that I've then worked on. And then some of my own background papers that I've used. I wanted just to keep it, again, very simple. We've got Martin Luther King here. I did this one for a Second Saturday Art, and it was celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday. And if you want to see the full video, you can check out my Patreon, or the shortened 10 minutes video fast forward is here on YouTube. I'll link it. And another one that I was playing and practicing with. So, but I enjoy, you know, just, it's the doodling, the creating shapes, the transformation. You can still see that it's him, but there's a transformation looking at, when you come in close and look at all the different sections. Come in closer. As you can see. So again, the shapes that just, I guess I just, you know, play. And then with the face, you know, mark making. And then when you add to it and do other shapes, and then, you know, add in any embellishments or additional lines or other colours, it kind of creates a really nice effect. These are my background papers again that I've used to combine this, and I did this one. It was another Second Saturday Art where I was celebrating Martin Luther King won the Nobel Peace Prize on the 10th of December in 1964, and that's also my mum's birthday, so it was just like, okay. and this one was just plain, and that's it. So it's not a large book, and then all I've done on here is paper that I had that's just been sitting there. Why not use it and put it in a journal? So let's quickly go through the next one. This one doesn't have as much in there as that one, and again, it's the brown paper. This is one of my art foamies. I'll leave the link, and I've used the art foamy, and it's about this size, and then I've added the bottom bit, and then I've used my background paper. This is still a work in progress, because as I'm looking at this I'm thinking, oh, I want to do this on it, and that's the way it goes, really. You know, you inspire yourself and you encourage yourself to create. So I've just been adding papers. Again, these are from different months and different tiers on my Patreon, and I'm just adding them there again as the first layer, and I can come back in and do something. Again, similar sort of thing. I was playing about with figures and using them in different ways on here. This is something that I've just done recently. This is using my $3 tier papers on my Patreon, and created that figure, and then I've used some of the rest of the paper that was left over here. And I think that's it for this. Yeah, I told you, it's very new, but I thought I would use up a lot of my papers from my Patreons and put it in here. Should we look at the small one? I'm just like, should I put it on a blank page so that you can see it, and you have to come in so close. So these small journals are really fun to make, and I've made a whole series of whole bookcases, and I've got a course on making the bookcases. We'll have a look at which one it might go on. Well, we got different sizes. This is probably a bit too big, but you can see the deliciousness. Let's come out. You can see the deliciousness and the bigger journals, and this is one of the bookcases that I show you how to make. We do a series of 4, section 4, and yeah, you can then create to your heart's content. And these are some smaller ones, so it'd probably go into one like this. So these are very cute, and we've got a series of journals in there. It slightly overhangs, that's why I created this additional lip, so when it's sitting down it can sit down nicely. Yeah, so that's these journals that fit in there. So let's have a look at this one. So it's just got, again, you know, that's why saving some of the you know, scraps of paper, again, let's come in, really helps, because it could just be that you use it as a spot for mark making, or you could, you know, add a word or actually write in it and write really small and have these as, you know, a journal that you write in. So these are the papers from my Patreon, and as I say, we release a new set every month. There is an archive that I'm building of the papers, and I've just gone through when I've found you know, odds and ends, and again, like these are ideal, they would go in there, and they're already cut up, they're small, and you could then they're already, you know, have the artwork on them, and you can add them on, and you don't have to worry, you know, about if you just wanted to do a dry medium project, then, you know, you just get your glue stick, and then you get your papers, and then you add them there. Just stick them down, wait until it dries, you can cut off the excess. sometimes what I do is just go through and look at the papers and then just stick down. Like so. So we've just added 2 pieces, and that doesn't have to go in landfill. And you've got some nice pages added to your journal. So I'll just cut them off there. Or the other thing that you can do is just fold it over if the other side of the page is blank, like I could have done that to this one. Just folded it over. Yeah, so we've now got additional, and that's a space to either, you know, again create a mark, or I could write in there. I could come back and find another little small piece for this side here. Could be the same color or something totally different, but I'm just going to go with that. Just like that. There we go. So yeah, so there's some pages in here that need some stuff. I was just going through and adding to random pages, and then I was just doing some doodling there. But again, you know, just a small mini journal that can work in loads of different ways as a project, or you could make it into jewelry, or I like making these mini bookcases. I'm into the miniature, and so if I have bits of paper left over, I will make a journal from it. And this one, that's a front. Again, I've taken scrap paper and added, I think it looks so pretty. I love the pink. It's pink and gold. And there's pages that are just crying out to be worked on. So, that is those journals for now. And I hope you have enjoyed looking through some of these, and that, you know, inspired to share yours. Do come on and leave a comment. You can leave your imagery in especially in the community. You can leave your message and your work as to what you're doing. So I wish you all the best and hope you have a blessed day creating.